Africa. What's happening with this camera? Damn, focus. There we go. Yeah, I'm super excited tonight. Last week with the blood oranges, I just realized that how important single flavor testing really is, but then what difference it makes if you take things that are similar. So last week was blood oranges, this week is purple grapes, and put them next to each other and test them, because then you get a really good how can I say, like a good idea of what the differences are between them. Sure, if you test one today, one concentrate today, and test another concentrate tomorrow, and you have notes, you'll know that there's some differences between them. But when you have them right next to each other and you test them, you get a very good idea of exactly what the differences are. So yeah, it's a new thing. It's a new thing for me. So let's freaking do this, guys. Let's freaking do this. But before we do the testing, let me just welcome everybody in chat. James Rivera, welcome. Nice to see you there. Oli, Mark Senior, super cool to see you on the Mixing in the Kitchen with the Daytime Frank show. It's really nice to have you on there. That's one of my favorite shows. So, it's nice to have you there, Mark. Tammy, everybody loves you, just like me. Nice to see you here. Devet Gates, welcome, Devet. And Musta, I think that's everybody. Lady Loves Vapor, last but not least, welcome. Lady, I've seen you in pretty much all the places that I hang out. You are also there. So it's nice to see you here as well. Ebert just hopped in. Welcome, Ebert. Nice to have you guys here. So yeah, I've been preparing these grapes, for the show. Let me just get them ready. I've got everything right here, mixed up and ready to go. But just while we wait, maybe there might be a couple more people that hop in. I'll tell you what's happening. Hey, Roger, Roger Ellis. Nice to have you here, man. Nice to see you here. Today was voting day, so you can see a little mark. They make it with like a Sharpie, a voting Sharpie, on your thumb once you voted, and that kind of stays there, for a couple of days. It's really manual. What surprised me about it, the good things was we thought, okay, just 2 steps back. So this year is the national and provincial vote for South Africa. So we've got you've got 2 ballots in which you need to vote. You need to vote for the party for your province, and then you need to vote for the party for the national, who takes it nationally. And, my past experiences with that just was, just endless queues, just the most amount of people in queues just standing there in front of you, and you just have to wait, and wait and wait and wait to vote. Hey, we got Richard in the house. Welcome, Richard, one of the TFV people. Nice to have you here. So yeah, endless amount of people just in queues, standing there in front of you, taking maybe 1 or 2 hours for you to cast your vote. I don't think they've actually started counting the votes or whatever. So the votes, but you literally, this is so bizarre for me, but I work in tech and IT and fintech, and in today's age, you would think that there's some kind of like keypad which scans your ID. I mean, we've got card IDs. I'm not going to. I'll just show you. so that you can get an idea. We've got these card IDs, and um, you know, there should be a way for you to just scan it, and then your profile pops up, and then you just hit one or two buttons and you cast your votes. And then by doing that, you almost get like a real-time view of where we are right now with voting now. There's about an hour and a half, I think, of voting left. It's still 9 p.m. tonight. But I think what they did right was they just, it looks like they don't have just a couple of places where you can vote anymore. I think they've got many, per area and even per neighborhood, right? So you can literally just go anywhere and just, vote. And that's what we did today. And it took me like 10 minutes. So Mohammed Saeed, another TFV member, hopped in on chat. Welcome. Nice to have you here. So yeah, it was quick, it was easy, it was in, it was out. That's my jam. That is my jam. So voting is now completed. It was done on a piece of paper, and I had to take 2 pieces of paper, one for national, one for provincial, and put them in different boxes. And the box said national on it, and that's where the national vote goes. And the other box said provincial, and that's where the provincial vote goes in. And you stand there with a pen and this little cardboard sort of voting station where you cast your vote. It just feels so manual. I don't know. It was a bizarre feeling for me, but the good thing was I didn't have to stand in any queues. Just want to swap out this battery. Kristen Lee Brits, welcome, Kristen. Nice to have you here. Nice to see a couple of different people in the chat hanging out with us, checking out what's happening with the grapes. So guys, are you keen to jump right into this? Hey, are you happy to frickin' do this? Okay, so where shall we start? We've got, and I did this specifically so I chose the purple grapes that are popular to me, right? And also are popular on ATF and ELR. I mean, on ELR, what you have is you have some of the grapes like TFA grapes that are more popular just because ELR has been around for a long time. But if you go and look on ATF, FLV, HS, FE, I think Inawera. Let's quickly go and do that. Let's quickly go and check where are we, because that's really interesting. Something that we have to go and check out. Okay, flavors. I should have had this done. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I apologize. So, yeah, the most popular here with 1,086 recipes is Inawera Grape. Right after that right after that is TFA grape juice. Yes, that is also a more not so much it's something between a purple grape and a pale grape. It's not, I mean, it is slightly purple, but it's a juice. So I love TFA grape juice. It's one of my favorite concentrates to use, but I decided not to make it part of this whole thing. I wanted things that are very alike, and TFA grape juice is kind of a thing on its own. So Inawera first, right, on what we're going to test tonight. And then second is Flavora. Funny enough, Flavora grape, really popular grape. It hasn't been in South Africa for very long, but it's here now, and I've tried it out, but I'm going to test it out again live tonight with you guys. Then after that, there's a couple. I mean, Flavor West grape, which I haven't really tried. There's white grape as well, but that's a pale grape, so I don't want to, I'm not going to talk about that tonight. So I decided to throw in 2 wild cards in the showdown, which is HS grape and FE grape, which I think, are grapes that aren't really talked about a lot. I mean, if you look at FE grape, there's 7 recipes on ATF that uses it. If you look at HS grape, there's 29 recipes that use it, which kind of blows my mind. But yes, so which one shall we start with, guys? I mixed them all up at 2%. I decided let's just go with 2. Um, most of them are asking for like 1.9. Some of them are asking for just over 2. And I thought, just as like as a point of reference for all of them to understand which ones are heavier, more concentrated than the others, I decided 2% is probably going to be where it's at for all of these concentrates. So, Inawera, FE, FLV, and HS, where shall I start? HS, Robert is Robert Cockrell. Welcome, Robert. Robert wants us to start with HS. Richard is saying, let's check out FE first, see if it's as good as the mango. Okay, so we've got HS and FE. The vet, you've got Flavor West Grape. So you must perhaps, when we're done with this video, you should maybe just post some notes of Flavor West Grape on here. Maybe mix it up at 2% as well if you can. And, just post your notes on there. It'd be very useful or helpful. Okay, I'm going to start. Richard, let's leave FE. I want to get an understanding, because FE is the underdog here, right? I'm going to do it last. What I'm going to start with, I think, is HS. I'm going to start with HS, also an underdog, but I'll do HS and then we'll talk about what will be next. So let's do HS. I'm going to do it in this 22. What is this? This is the GR1, Gas Mods GR1. All of them, I've got nickel flat wire in here, and all of them is exactly the same build. Even if I've got different ATIs, it's exactly the same build. To try and get just as close as I can to. If I had 4 of the same ATIs, I would use it. But I don't. I've got all of them are 22s though, and I'm using the same wire. So, there's some common ground here between them. So, let's freaking do this. Okay, so I created a list of things that I think, would be things that plague purple grapes. So all of these grapes are candy-like, okay? They're purple candy-like grapes. But I think what we'll do is we'll just say which of them are sweeter, like more candy or less candy, right? But all of them are candy-like. Things that plague grapes as well, they mostly are quite thin. They're bitter, right? So we'll talk about the sweetness as well, the differences of sweetness between them. Some of them get chalky really quickly, and then some of them have like a medicine sort of note. I just called that medicinal, all right? But I know medicinal means a lot of things to a lot of people, right? Okay, so let's do this. Let's go check out HS. Ooh, you know what I didn't put in here? I did put it in there. I said thin. I'm going to say thin body, right? I think we need to talk about the body, thin body. Let me just drip a little bit more. This is going to make a noise, so I'm just going to mute for a second. I'm going to sort this out, guys. I've got a microphone. Here's a microphone. I just need to find its cable, and then we're not going to have this muting business. Okay, I'm done. So with HS, I think this one, let's start off with more candy or less candy. I think this one, yes, it's purple, and yeah, they're all candy-like, but I think out of the bunch, this one reads a little bit less candy for me. Um, the body on this HS grape feels slightly better than some of the other grapes that I've tried out there. So I would say that HS grape has got, some body to it, okay, which is a problem with grapes. It's a real thing. It's a real problem with them. Bitterness, very little, right at the top, a slight bitterness, but I think you need that to imitate a sort of like a grape flavor. Chalky, yes, not that chalky at 2%, but I believe if you push this one, you're going to start getting, because of that body that they built in there in the grape. I think when you start pushing this higher, what you're going to start seeing is you're going to start seeing some chalkiness. It's going to start reading a little bit chalky. Then medicinal. This is a funny one for me, this HS grape. Um, I want to say, there's a fine line between like a candy flavor and, it going over into like the medicine realm, and this is just before it goes into the medicine realm at 2% for me. So, my concern with this one would be it's lovely, it's got body, but, as soon as you start pushing it over and, you start pushing it further, that might start becoming a little bit heavier. Dryness, I added dryness to the lot here, and I think it's pretty dry. It has a slight syrupiness to it, right at the end, of the, when you blow out the vapor, you get a little bit of syrupiness to it, but it is a little bit dry at the start of the vape. Can I taste the skin? Okay, let me try. Let me see if I can taste the skin on HS. Dang, dude, I don't know. Guys, we never spoke about sweetness. Let me just add this in the. I guess we spoke about candy, but we didn't specifically. Oh, we did speak about sweetness. Or we might have just hopped over it. Excuse me. I'm getting old. Uh, it's quite sweet at 2%. I don't think you need to add much sweetener to this. If you're making, you could actually, when you layer this one with another grape, its inherent sweetness could really help out the mix, read quite sweet. Mark, I would say a little bit more of a body, that like jelly-like body of a grape. That's what I'm getting from HS more than the skin itself. Uh, yeah, the bitterness level on this it's very slight. It's actually a pretty good grape. Um, I can recommend this one for sure. But yeah, I think you probably need to layer it with another grape, just to get a little bit more dimension out of the vape. Okay, so we're done with HS. Is there Any questions on HS, guys? While I take a sip of my Coca-Cola and 7-Up mixture. My own DIY right here. This is my own DIY. Cheers, guys. Ching. No, James, I did not add Concord Grape in here. I love Concord Grape, but it's actually Concord Grape is way more authentic. I thought about adding it into the lot over here. You know, so authentic Concord Grape is that you can taste the skin and almost like the pulp of the grape. It's extremely authentic. So I didn't add it in here. I thought these 4 that I have here are, purple candy-like grapes. If I'm going to look at a purple candy-like grape, I'll probably be looking at these 4, and seeing what what I want to use it for and what application it will work best in. So we've got FLV, FE, and Inawera left. What shall we do next, guys? Shall we do the most popular ones? Excuse me. Shall we do the most popular one, Inawera? So we smash the Inaweras. The Inaweras. Let's do the Inaweras. Let's see what the Polish thing grapes taste like, or a purple candy-like grape. Now this one, okay, let me. Sorry, guys. Looks like the wire did pop out on this Atty after I put the wick in. So I just want to make sure that that the coil is heating right through. Yes, that's way better. That is way better. Okay, so ching, ching, ching. The Inawera, here we go, guys. Okay, so for Inawera, it's pretty candy, guys. It's purple candy, like somewhat like the soda would be, or a grape soda would be, or somewhat like a grape bubblegum would be, right? It reminds me of that kind of thing, and this will definitely work quite well in those applications. I think we did it some justice at 2%. I know this one gets chalky real quick, and it's really potent. You know what I mean? It's definitely, it feels slightly more concentrated than the HS. So on the body, it felt like it did have some body behind it as well. And that body is the same body that's going to potentially turn a little bit chalky when you start pushing it. Definitely will start getting chalky real quick. But you could use that chalkiness if if you want to create or imitate like a bubble gum, for instance, or even if you want to put like it behind a candy, right? You could play with that chalkiness quite well. Sweetness, it's sweet. You wouldn't need much from a sweetener perspective with this one. Um, Medicine, yes. Bitterness, not much bitterness. It is very sweet. Um, I think if you do push it, though, you're going to get a lot more bitterness and dryness. Yes, I feel this one is definitely drier than the HS for me. Okay, it vapes a little bit drier, I feel. It's not a big deal. I mean, you could hide a little bit of cactus, in your mix, and it will just juicing everything up, or wetten everything up in the mix, if that's even a freaking word. But you get what I'm saying, right? The whole vape will just be a whole lot more juicy with a little bit of cactus in there. But yes, that is pretty much it for Inawera. See, James said there, real flavors, SC, grape, kind of like that. Are you talking about Inawera, James? Um, I haven't tasted that one, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I guess so. I would have to test that out. Maybe in another grape showdown. Yes, definitely candy-like. So if SC or Real Flavors is candy-like, yes, Inawera is definitely that unauthentic purple candy, grape candy-like. Yeah. Uh, you know, that reminds me when you say it's very candy heavy of the Flavor West. Now, the Flavor West grape soda, that's heavy candy. I think half of that is actually sweetener. If you go and look at the Flavor West um, uh, SDS, you will find that you'll get an indication of the components within the flavor, and they give you an indication of how much sweetener is in there. And the problem I had with grape soda is it's delicious, and it works well, but as soon as you start pushing it to get like a more in your face grape, that candy sort of like sweetener, sweetener kind of taste starts really coming forward, and then it starts reading like a candy, like a hard candy or jelly candy. It's weird, but I mean, it has its uses, right? So that's Inawera. You know, between the two, I would say, both of them are really good. Both of HS and Inawera, they both have body to them. I think they both would be able to get chalky. HS a little bit more syrupy than Inawera, and Inawera a little bit drier than HS so far. Okay. That is true, the Gates. It does taste like a Fanta grape sweet, and that's great. If you want to create a candy, um, but I've really been chasing. I think Mark Senior has also been chasing like a Fanta grape, like a soda. And the problem with grape soda is you just need a little bit more flavor out of it, and then when you push it, it starts becoming a candy. So you have to layer that grape. Okay, guys, we have got two more left here. We've got the new and upcoming FE grape, and then we've got FLV grape. I think I should end off with FE, guys. What do you think? I think I should do FLV now, and then we can end off with FE. Who's got FLV grape in chat? If you have FLV grape, let me know. This literally just arrived like probably a month, 2 months ago in South Africa. It just, for some reason, it just hasn't been here. It just hasn't been in South Africa. And then I asked Rashad at BLCK, you know, if they feel like adding it to, the FLV order, because I was on a hunt for grapes, and he said, yeah, absolutely, he'll add it. Yeah, this is now the DA. This is for sure the DA phoning me now, making sure that I voted. Let's just check this out. Hello? Okay, no. It's definitely the DA. They've been phoning me non-stop just to make sure that I voted. Okay, so everybody ready? For the FLV. The FLV. Ching. Shall we do it? Lady Loves Vapor, she has it. Tam has it. VDog only has FLV grape. Okay, let's do this, guys. Kool-Aid kind of grape to me, says VDog. Okay, let's try this one out. I'm just gonna mute for a second, guys. Okay, so there we go. Let's run through it. Okay, I took a couple of puffs just to make sure, I keep on looking at the list that we made, because it's like 4 or 5 things. And when you're vaping, and you kind of like think about one of those items, you can really, focus your, uh, almost like your attention on a part of the vape, and it helps you to establish if it has that or if it doesn't. With this one, it feels more candy. Okay, so definitely a little bit more. It definitely has like a candy-like sweetness to it. I think this would work brilliant, as a candy. It does feel like, that purple grape flavor is not that hard, on here. Uh, I guess you can push it. It has a little bit less body than HS and Inawera, but I believe because of that, you'll be able to push a little bit harder, get a little bit more flavor out of it. Bitterness, slightly bitter. Okay, it is slightly bitter. You would have to use a little bit of sweetener just to hide that bitterness, or somebody mentioned out earlier in the chat, which is definitely one of my tricks as well, just a slight, just a smidge, like 0.3 of FA blackcurrant, right at the top. It's extremely syrupy. Concentrate that, and it will help distract you from that bitter top note, which is, if you go and buy commercial grape commercial juices, mostly what you'll find in them is you'll find, yeah, in the middle of that vape, you will find, it's delicious sort of grape flavor. But the problem is you'll probably find that the profile is quite thin, it's just grape and sweetener. It's quite thin profile, and there's very little in between. So this is something that I realized with commercial grape vape liquid. Then, but with this one, it feels like you can push this one a little bit harder. So I think this FLV is potentially a um, good one to have to layer with other grapes that you cannot push that hard, right? I think you'll get a good flavor out of it. This one, out of the three, uh, I would say the one that reminds me the most of that unauthentic purple grape candy soda flavor is probably Flavora and HS. Uh, I don't know. I don't think this one is going to get chalky quickly. It doesn't taste medicinal at all. Dryness. Let me just check, guys. Okay, so uh, it is kind of dry. It's actually kind of dry. I think, from a dryness perspective, I think it's probably at the same level as Inawera. It's probably at the same level as Inawera. I'm not sure if you push it harder. Hey, we've got a couple of people in chat. Dimlin, thanks for joining us. I haven't seen you in my chats. Um, you asked there, is it a bitter or a hairspray chemical? Are you talking about FLV? Because that's what I'm busy with right now. Um, I don't. This one to me, uh, I would say FLV and Inawera, reminds me the most of. How can I say, like a candy? But there's a fine line between, it becoming that sort of medicine-like uh, grape flavor, if that makes sense. I think uh, I think HS probably will get there quicker, if you push it, than what Flavora and Inawera would. Funny enough, between the three of these, I think that Inawera was probably a little bit more concentrated. um, FLV and HS is probably at the same level. So that was interesting. The last one that oh yes, any questions? So, Dimlin, I'm not sure if that answered your question. Okay, so Mohammed is saying bring on the FE. Oh, Dimlin, you are talking about FLV. Yeah, I think all of these will eventually get to that almost like a cologne, kind of bitterness in your mouth, if that makes sense. That floral vibe that you get from Grape Concord, FA Grape Concord. That gets there very quickly. It's almost there from the start, from about, I think, 1% even. With FLV, I think at 2%, it's not that prominent yet. But, I think if you start pushing it higher, it will definitely start showing up. I think you'll be able to push Inawera and FLV a little bit higher than 2% without it showing up. I think with HS, it will start showing up sooner. HS is a good one though, because I think that it's got a nice body to it. So, when you're working with grapes, you you know you have to layer them. You have to layer your grapes. It's just they're thin. They're thin and bitter things, and the only way you can get past that is by stacking them on top of each other. So that um, funky off notes don't start showing up. So here we are with the FE. Has anybody got FE? Has anybody got FE in chat? Am I the only person with FE grape in chat? Hey, that'd be interesting. Who else has it? Tammy is saying yes. Oh, Tammy has it. Hey, that's cool, Tam. Okay, here we go, guys. Testing this in my Entheon. It's got this little thingy-mabob that you need to take out first. So I can't just drip in there. Guys, when I do my testing, I do all of it on, a complete rewick, the exact same coil, NI80, the exact same wraps. They're just in different 22 millimeter atties to try and keep it as consistent as I can. I even use the same wattage as well, just to see what the differences are, because when you're testing these things neck and neck, you want to sort of eliminate environmental differences. So I've done that as best I can, if that makes sense to everybody. See, this is the thing. Look at that. Now it's in there. It's in there. So now I have to take this thing out first. Sometimes this happens. There we go. There's the click. Now it won't slip off. You don't want it to slip off while you're busy. You want it to stay on there. Otherwise, big problem. Okay, so no, Mark, I just know it as FE Grape. Tammy, you got FE Grape to mix up my icy grapey vapey. Yeah, and you never done it. You never done it. Please go and do it. Okay, guys, I'm just going to mute for a second. And I'm back. Okay, so Rob S. Welcome, Rob S. We literally just tested out the last concentrate. So you might have to check out the replay if you want to see what we said about the other grapes. Specifically, we're talking about purple grapes, right? Purple candy-like grapes. This is why I use these four together. Okay, my upfront opinion about FE at 2%. I've never pushed it that high. So just upfront, a little disclaimer. So more candy or less candy, definitely I feel that FE Grape, is kind of like FLV and Inawera in a way where it reminds me of that purple grape stuff that we had as kids, like juice and candy. All three of them really. HS reminds me less of that, even though HS is not a bad grape whatsoever. However, with FE, it's by far the juiciest one out of the lot. So I mean, it's quite syrupy actually and juicy. Uh, you know, I think so yeah, right at the start it vapes. It feels like it vapes a lot juicier um, than some of the others. I don't think this one is going to get chalky really quickly at all. I think you can push it a little bit more. I think you can push this. I mean, it is a super concentrate, but you could push this probably up to about 3%, I would say, maybe a little bit more. But I think at that, you're going to just get an extremely juicy, and right at the tail end of the grape, it's going to become slightly syrupy. I'm not sure about the bitterness that high. At 2%, it felt like it didn't have that much bitterness in it. Okay, I think um, Inawera and Flavora, and yeah, Inawera and Flavora have a little bit more bitterness in them, right? Uh, the body on FE though, it feels like, because it's such a juicy, wet vape, right? It feels like the body is slightly thinner, but it's not that bitter, which is fine. You can work with that, right? Sweetness, it's somewhat sweet. Okay, it's definitely somewhat sweet, um, but you know what's great about that is you can layer your grapes with this, um, and or you can add your own sweetener to it. It definitely has a syrupiness to it, so there is some sweetness there. However, I think maybe HS and Inawera maybe a little bit sweeter. I think um, this one doesn't taste like hairspray at all. Who was asking that earlier? I think it was yeah, Dimlin. So this one doesn't taste like hairspray at all. So I think you can push this one quite high, and you should be okay. You Because it's thin, you probably want to layer this with another grape, okay? And it will work really well. So on dryness, of course, this one is by far, out of the four, FE grape is the juiciest one out of the lot. So if I'm looking at creating some kind of cocktail with grape in, and I don't want to reach for TPA grape juice, and I want a more sort of like like a Fanta grape vibe, I'd probably reach out for FE, um, because TFA grape juice, I love that. I use that in one of my one shots that I got out with BLCK Vapor. Um, you have to be careful with that one, because it can, if you push it, and it's a weak concentrate, I mean, you can push it past 5%, right? But if you push it, it starts almost vaping like a weak, sort of watered down wine. Okay. Also, when you layer it with something like with the white grape, if a white grape or grape white, it kind of reminds me of like a early harvest wine. So you have to be careful. But I think if you pair this with TPA grape juice, and you just use the grape juice to layer with the FE, but you use FE as your main note, you're going to get an extremely juicy vape out of that. Then you just need to figure out how you're going to build that body around it. You might want to use something like HS grape, or Moscato from FLV. Bring in a little bit of body, or you can bring it in with a little bit of jelly candy, something like that, and then you're good to go. Uh, but yeah, that is pretty much FE. I've covered all the points there. So out of the lot, FE is it feels like a completely different beast than the other three. Inawera, FLV, and HS all feel similar in a way that they've got a little bit more body, but they will start becoming a chalky really quickly. Inawera and FLV, they have like a cologne floralness to them if you start pushing them. The bitterness, Inawera, I think, gets bitter a little bit quicker. Um, and HS, I think, is going to get slightly, medicine-like a little bit quicker. That floral sort of cologne vibe. So that's just a bit of a summary from all of them. Thanks, Vaughn. Thanks. I think one day when I'm feeling confident enough, I'll play a little bit of drums for everybody on the live stream. So, is there anything else? Maybe what I'll show you guys is I'll just show you a recipe that I created. All right. So, can you see? Yeah, you can see my screen now. Okay. So, I'm just going to quickly go to my recipe that I created. I'm a big grape fan. Since I was young, grape candy, grape bubblegum, grape Fanta, uh, you know, grape Tizer, all of those things were just stuff that I like. So, okay, so this is my grape one-shot recipe that I created. Now, I'll just quickly tell you what I've done here. So this part here, these two grapes, I got that trick from Hippie Vapes. He's got a Grape Ape recipe as well, where he uses this combination. Almost, I think, at the exact same percentages as well. Maybe slight variances, but kind of exactly the same. This is really delicious, but the problem with this combination is that it's a little bit more on the authentic grape juice side. Okay. Now, if you're looking at this icy grapey vapey, this is a blended grape juice that I created that is somewhat authentic grape and somewhat sweetened grape. Okay. I used FE grape in here at 2%. So I was lying earlier. I have used it at 2%. So I used it at 2% over here. So I pretty much put 3 grapes in here. So this is the struggle with grapes, and the struggle is real. They are thin. Even grape juice and grape white from FA, all of them are thin. The reason I had to do this is because I'm creating a juice, right? And a juice needs to vape wet and or juicy, and you can only do that by using grapes that give you that juicy sensation, right? And these 3 pretty much do that for me together. However, because of the grape white in there really adds a little bit more of a different white grape dimension to this, and it expands the um, the grape profile a little bit. Okay, so even with this, if you try this is the recipe that Tam bought Effie grape for, and she never mixed it up. So Tam, go and mix this up. Tell me what you think. Um, it's a commercial vibe recipe, right? This is my one shot, so it's out there. Then a little trick, of course, is that FA blackcurrant in there. So this turns everything purple, okay? Just at 0.3%, don't go any higher than that, because then it's going to start reading extremely dusty. So just keep it right there at 0.3%, and it will just spin this whole thing, give it like a sour edge also, and it will make this whole makes this whole recipe extremely purple. And this is the closest I've ever gotten to that that purple stuff that I liked so much as a kid. All right. Excuse me. Let me just check what people are saying out in chat. Yeah, Mohammed, grapes need to be layered. You know, they all suffer from being thin and they all suffer from being bitter, you know, and some of them suffer from getting chalky. And then, as Damien was saying earlier, they get perfumey really quickly. Okay. Um, so Mark is saying commercial grape juices have apple in them. That's interesting. I haven't tried that. I guess a little bit. Are you talking about actual juice like that you drink? You know, because I know that that's got either apple or pear in it. Um, or are you talking about commercial vape liquid? You know, because I guess a little bit of Fuji, you know, if you hide the apple um, with a lot of grape on top of it, you know, it will add some body. Yes, okay. Mark is talking about the stuff we drink. Yes, okay. Um, Then Mark is saying grape soda, Flavor West. I love to play with. Yes, Mark. You know, one of my recipes called Missionary also uses grape soda from Flavor West. I love that stuff. It's delicious. It's good. Imira has grapes and grapes. Which one are you using? Good question. Good question. Okay, here I am. I'm back. I'm back, guys. Here we go. Uh, Yeah, this is just, it just says, I mean, it's rebottled. Okay. Can you read that? It just says grape concentrate Inawera. Of course, this is rebottled from BLCK Vapor. Struggles to focus. But yeah, it's not grapes, it's grape. Singular, not plural. Muhammad is calling for another missionary. Should I do a missionary with FE grape? Make it a little bit more juicy. I can think about that. Okay, guys, that's pretty much it for tonight. Thanks for everybody that has joined in chat, guys. But if there's any questions, please pop them in chat now. While I just shout out a couple of places. So first of all, Daytime Frank, guys, go and check out Daytime Frank's channel on YouTube and also his Facebook group. Daytime Frank was here earlier in chat, so you can scroll up as well if you can't find his channel. Mark Senior, that's in chat at the moment, he was on the last Mixing in the Kitchen show with Daytime Frank. So yeah, nice to have them here. Fresho3, I saw his video. It looks like he's going to take a little break because he's moving. So go and check out his channel. There might not be much going on in the next 3 weeks, but he does a lot of live shows, and he's just a wealth of information. And he's got the best people on him with, you know, from a live stream perspective. I really enjoy hanging out in his live streams. They are entertaining. DIY Down Under, our Australian fam. Go and check them out. Developed, pretty much the pioneers of group mixing. I watched one of their shows with ML Nikon in where they were creating a parfait. It was really good, well edited, like that show. Mix and Vixens, go and check out their Facebook group. With them, I would say join their YouTube channel and join their Facebook group so that you can see you know, how people are posting on the group and the profiles that they select that they're going to build When they build their profiles, you can play along. They shout out your recipes, and then at the end, they get their recipes roasted by Folkart, Shundo, and people like that, So they get people to roast their recipes at the end, and then they decide who is the winner. So the vixens battle it out all the time. Very cool. And then finally, I'm just going to throw a link out for the South African Facebook group called Mixologists. So, if you're not on this group already, it's definitely one that you need to join, because there's a wealth of information there. There's a lot of South African related content in there. But yeah, just join. It's a South African group, but we've got a lot of international people in there. The group has really picked up in the last couple of months, and I'm just really grateful for everybody posting in there and helping all the other people out. So thank you so much for that. So go and join that group, guys. Okay, just before I say goodbye, let me just see if there's any questions. Okay, so there isn't. Yeah, guys, it's a pleasure giving you flavor notes and, just doing these sort of like showdowns where, I mix them up next to each other. It really gives you a good indication of what you should use these concentrates for. I guess if you read a flavor note on its own, what you're going to be getting is, you're just focusing on one thing at a time, and you're not looking at many similar things right next to each other, where you can really find the differences between them, even though, they're quite similar in the market that they play in. Okay. Guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining, and thanks so much for hanging out and doing this with me. Cheers, guys.